So, for us, this is the third day in a row.
I'm gonna say,
episode.
if this was my job, like we got paid to do this, I wouldn't mind. But 3 days in a row when you got full-time jobs and kids and shit, that's a lot. I moved my
it's a
camera.
lot, dude.
Yeah, move this back.
It's all right. Whatever. It's fine. Nobody watches the video
My
of the show.
proton pack in the shot. That's all that matters to me. I charge the battery for every show.
I can see it. It's flashing
It's
away.
really nice.
It's flashing away.
It's my favorite thing.
Hey, everyone. Welcome to number 850 of Outside the Cinema. This is our
this
last
is 850?
live show for a little while.
This is 850?
I think it's 850,
Nice.
yeah.
Nice.
We've actually already recorded 851, 852, 853, and 854, though.
Yeah.
Last live show for probably about a month or so. Having my surgery on Wednesday, so Patreon listeners, you'll get this before it. Everyone else, you'll get it on Thursday, as long as I remember to put it in and cue it up right. Which is what my plan is to do this afternoon, so there you go. But yeah, here we are, another show, another two mockumentaries. We kind of fell into this little rabbit hole of analog horror and mockumentaries over the next few weeks. So today we are doing the 2019, I think 2019. One of the directors of the Blair Witch Project, Daniel Myrick's film Skyman, which is a mockumentary about a guy who was abducted by UFOs.
Claims to be.
Be. And then the second film, 2001's Mike Basset, England Manager, directed by Steve Barron. The director of The Adventures of Pinocchio. Remember that really weird kind of like
unfortunately
stop motion British Pinocchio movie.
Yeah.
He directed that too. That mockumentary about a gentleman named Mike Bassett who becomes the manager of the England World Cup team.
Essentially,
different type of mockumentary than we usually do, because we usually do the found footage stuff and the horror stuff. So it's always funny when you kind of bring like, whoa, sorry, only once. But yeah, that's what's going on.
Yeah, that's
for this week. Yeah. Join the Patreon if you haven't already. Patreon.com/outside the cinema. You can suggest movies for us to cover. You can make segment suggestions. You can pitch Joe stuff. You can pitch Scott stuff. Whatever you want to do over there. Supporters keep the show alive. Without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do it. So we really very much appreciate it. What else? Had a screening of Don't Forget to Leave in Somerville last night as part of the Somerville International Film Festival. Went pretty good. Pretty good. Everyone seemed to like it. It's kind of a weird time slot. 6 o'clock on a Sunday night is kind of a weird.
Oh, that's dead
weird time.
For movie theaters. That's when we start restocking and stuff.
Yeah, it was. We got a good crowd though. We got a good crowd in there, which was cool. And then next weekend we're at Shauna Shea in Uxbridge.
Right.
Yep, I believe we're also screening on Sunday of that, but I think it's early in the afternoon. I don't have it in front of me.
Kyle covering those for you?
Yeah, excuse me. I was hoping to be well enough at least to come to the screening, but I'm not counting on it. It'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It'll be 4 days after my surgery, and I don't know. I would like to be there. I love Skip and love the Shauna Shea Film Festival. It's my favorite film festival that we do. And I would love to be able to be there to support. Maybe I'll send in a FaceTime message or something. And
you never know. I mean, depending on the size of the incision and what muscle wall they have to cut through and everything, you could be able to be driven there.
Right, yeah. I think getting there, like I could probably get there. It's going to be how long am I going to last?
Yeah. Are they going through the front or the back? Are you cutting through abdominal muscle?
No, yeah, they're going right through my belly button.
Oh. Okay,
yeah, they're going to go through my belly button.
You might not have the same when I had my hernia done, it was like where the line of your briefs sit on your waist, it was like an inch or two below that on the right-hand side before my legs start. And they cut through like all of my lower abdominal muscles on that side. I couldn't move for a while.
Yeah, so they're going in between what would be my, below my abs, but above my lower abdomen. So like they'll have to cut through like all my stomach fat, which
They're
Feel free. I told them, I go, feel free to take as much of that with you as you like too. They didn't find it funny.
no, because they hear that all the time, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no
yep.
price
So,
tag
and
must
then
be free. Fuck off.
And then they're gonna do 4 smaller incisions, like here
Okay.
and here, where they're gonna put the tubes in to put the gas into my belly to blow my belly up to give room to work.
Okay, you're gonna be you're gonna look like you're in the Matrix.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much.
You know what they don't do?
What?
They will not take pictures of your insides for you so you can see them.
No,
I
they won't.
really wanted to see what the inside of me looked like without some kind of devastating accident, and they just wouldn't do it. I just wanted to see.
Fair.
When Ellen had the what's it called? Where they cut the babies out, not inside. It's cesarean.
C-section.
Yeah. When I came into the room, she was ready for the babies to be extracted, I guess is a good way to say it, and they would not let me go look.
No, yeah.
I don't
No,
know.
yeah, that's,
I don't know if I would have been able to handle it in real life, but I was really, really curious.
Oh no, I would pass out. I almost passed out with regular childbirth, let alone.
When the doctor pulled Ripley out, she was folded in half, so he like hooked his fingers on her hip, both hips, and she was like folded forward, and he pulled her backwards out, and she was like a grayish blue when she came out. She had a little difficulty breathing, but I watched her turn from a gray blue to like normal, and it was so weird. Just this is the person. My wife's a person who I've known since 1979, and I watched human beings get pulled out of her.
Yeah.
It's really
Childbirth is a
strange when you
fucking
think
nightmare.
about it.
It's a fucking nightmare. It's a horror movie. Anyway, speaking of horror movies, we don't really have either of them tonight.
Not really, no.
Skyman is I mean, you think one of the directors of Blair Witch, you automatically think, oh, okay, it's gonna be a horror movie, but this really isn't a horror movie. It's more of a character study than anything.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with Skyman because I already started talking about it. So let's play the trailer for it.
Check, 1, 2, 3.
State your name for camera, please.
My name is Carl Merriweather, and this is my sister Gina Campbell. Her last name is Campbell because she was married, but then she got divorced.
Okay.
And her husband's name was Carl too.
Carl, that's enough. That's too much information.
Sorry.
So, Carl, can you tell us how you became interested in UFOs?
To state it as clearly as I can, I was visited by one when I was a kid.
The skies above Apple Valley were filled with more than just clouds last night. News 6 lines were lighting up with reports of an alleged triangle-shaped UFO in the
Some local residents claim to have seen an unidentified flying object just after sunset last evening, with one young man even claiming to have been visited by what he describes as a Skyman.
He was tall and skinny. He didn't look human. I knew he wasn't a human. He said that he was looking for someone like me.
He has been so razor sharp focused, more than I've ever seen him. I guess I just figured he was finally ready to tell his story.
Here's the HGH.
I'm telling you, it was really, really loud. I was standing right here, and it was like, zzz. Are you too sure it was not you?
It couldn't have been. We were way over the hill by the beacon. What is it? It's our magnet, or what's left of it. It was propelled somehow.
Okay, so what? You really think that aliens did that?
I don't know what to think, Gina. All I know is something's going on, and I don't think it's human related. Arthur C. Clarke once said, "A sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic." And I've always liked magic.
All right, 2019's Skyman. That's stop. All right. Directed by Daniel Myrick, written by Daniel Myrick, starring. The weirdest thing with this IMDb is you have to scroll like way the fuck down to find like the main characters.
Yeah, are they in alphabetical order? I'm just getting the page up
No, they're not. Michael Selly plays Carl Merriweather. Gina's played by Nicolette Sweeney. They're really the only two characters that matter. Oh, and the guy that works at the store, Marcus.
Marcus.
Felio Waldamala.
Yeah, he was good. Actually, Michael, is it Sell or Selle?
Yes, Selly.
He was fantastic in this.
To a point.
The main character comes off as, well, they're in the desert in Southern California. It's all in California. And he sort of comes off as like a Midwestern hick with all of the abduction stuff that's going on. But as the movie goes on, and this is just character to set the tone here, he genuinely believes that this happened, and he doesn't seem like a mean guy. He doesn't look like he has like a vindictive bone in his body. He's not the brightest in the room, but you could hear what he's saying, what he needs to learn. He learned and he retains, and it's interesting. It's almost like watching a grown-up 14-year-old try to figure this out. I liked him. I liked the character, actually.
Yeah, I mean, I think this film, first and foremost, this film is a slow burn. This is not an action-packed sci-fi or action-packed found footage horror
It's like
film.
a
It is a
discovery kind of thing, not the channel, but like you're discovering as you go along.
Yeah, and it's very, very understated, very quiet, very slow burn. It's interesting because Daniel Myrick, as like the co-director and co-everything of Blair Witch, like when you go and look at his background and like stuff he's done, he hasn't really done much. Like he's produced some like low budget horror movies, like one of the Rest Stop movies, and like directed a couple other things, something called Under the Bed, and I mean, really, that's really it. And then like a bunch of the like his name's attached to a bunch of the Blair Witch stuff that's like attached or whatever. So it's interesting. Whereas Eduardo Sanchez has his hands on a whole bunch of different things.
Right. It seems like he really just wanted to go all in on it, and that's fine.
Yeah. It's interesting, but like this is presented as a completed documentary. This is not a found footage film. This is not like, it's presented that this crew is following this Carl Merriweather guy around. And the story is that Carl believes that he met an alien when he was 10 years old out in the desert. And they're coming back to get him when he turns 40 on his 40th birthday.
Yeah.
And the film is essentially a character study on him, his sister Gina, a little bit with the mother, and his friend Marcus that works at the hardware store that he buys things from. And it's really him prepping for this, Skyman to return.
Yeah.
And it is all very slow though. That's the thing, is like I was surprised at how much of a slow burn this film was.
It is.
But then when
it does actually play like a real straight up documentary. So
it does 100%.
Yeah. It reminded, I mean, they do what a good documentary does, is like, it gets you thinking about, well, what about this? And then they tackle that.
Right.
And I thought that was, they know what they're doing. I mean, it's weird to hear, they wrote a fake documentary and made it look just like a real one. That sounds weird, but...
Yeah, and part of me loves that they did that, but then the like movie fan in me at the same time is kind of like, I felt like there was opportunity to bring something more. You know what I mean? There's not like a bunch of like weird things that happen.
No.
Like everything that happens in the film happens in the final couple minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and it's nothing that anyone saw, and I I think I'm going to disagree with you, and I'm going to say I kind of like that because that is how UFO hunting is in real life. So
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Through the whole thing, it led you to believe that this is the real world. Nothing has ever happened, and he misses his dad, and this is how he thinks he's going to see him again, or something. And he's just, the family's going along with it because it's a one-day thing. Okay, we'll go to the desert for your birthday. We'll do that, and if they show up, great. See you later. And if they don't show up, we'll all go home, and it'll be fine. It's not. It is a delusion, they believe, but it's not a super harmful one at this point. I mean, if they don't show up and take him on his birthday, then he'll probably fall into a major depressive, I don't want to call it an era because I can't think of the right episode. And the psychological damage that would do. You know, you believe one thing your whole life and you're proven wrong. That's going to break you a little.
Yeah.
But it's not like, oh, the CIA's shooting lasers into my windows to try and read my thoughts. That's an everyday thing that's not going to end because you're schizophrenic and there's a problem.
Right.
The only thing
it's all
sorry.
Well, I just because it's all played really like matter of factly too, which I enjoyed. And I kept thinking about the other found footage pseudo documentary, mockumentary alien films that we've watched, and almost all of them are just too much. Like too much alien, too much like light in the window and gray standing outside the window, and then the guy that had the like ocular implant put into himself, and like
But they are alien movies. This is different. This is about the person, not the aliens. And he believes that it is real. No one has any proof. He's got his story. And that's how real world documentaries are. Guy says one thing, we all look at him and go, yeah, no, that didn't happen. And then, now we see the documentary here, and he goes through all these logical, to him and sort of to us, steps to make sure what he's doing is remembered and seen and in the right context. There's a lot of thought put into his legacy after this event, which you don't see a lot, because he went looking for them. And in the ones that I've watched, like Alien Abduction and Extraterrestrial, like they don't go looking for him. Even Predator, they find them. They find them.
Yeah.
Here, he went to where they were going to be. It's funny. I was going to say this is close to like if Close Encounters of the Third Kind was a documentary. You'd think that was crazy the whole time until they start playing the piano.
Right.
And that was great because the whole time, I imagine if you were if it was new to you in the 70s and you were watching it, you wouldn't know, is he dreaming this up? Because you could have a UFO in a dream sequence.
Oh, for sure.
So this is pretty much 99.5% just drama. And it's character interaction.
Yeah, and a big part of it too is making you kind of question the Carl character in how crazy is he?
Yeah.
Like, is he going to do something bad here?
Right.
Or is it like, and the sister's worried about him. The mother is in an old age home and she's struggling. And there's he talks about how the father died, had a heart attack on the roof, and there's all these things, and he gets these moments where like you get creeped out by him. Like the first time they're driving out to the desert and he asks the cameraman to put the camera down because we have to have some semblance of secrecy or something. And I'm like, well, that's just a little creepy.
Yeah.
And then they get out there and like they have this like built homestead that's like built in these shipping containers where they've actually like wired them up with solar panels, and like they have generators and like all these things to like light them, and have like
he's been getting ready for a long time.
Yeah, and he talks about how they used to come there as they were kids, and then you're like, well, they don't really get into that too much of like the father had some stuff going on too. Like they hint at it and they give you enough to like interest you, but don't really get into it because they talk a lot about, well, what did your mother think about coming out here? Oh, well, she used to like it a lot.
Yeah.
The sister character is really interesting too because there's this definite line of like she's putting up with him and putting up with his bullshit because she cares about him.
Yeah.
And then there's also the thread that they dangle out there of the other brother named Kenny, who we never meet, and about how, you know, well, Kenny and I used to get along really well, and now we don't talk anymore.
Yeah. And it's smart to just leave that thread hanging because, like, that's real life. Sometimes family falls away and they don't care enough to come back to set things right because their ego is more important than being wrong.
Agreed.
I'm guessing that's what the brother's problem is. Or his parents or whoever.
Or he just can't put up with this guy's shit anymore and he has to separate himself from it.
Yeah.
That's kind of, that's where I kind of fell on it, was like, he sounded like he was kind of a bully anyway, and then it was just kind of like one of those things where he's like, I can't put it up with it anymore. And they get into like, you know, how like Carl was teased a lot as a kid because the random guy that runs into them in the diner like kind of hits on the sister, but like they talk about how
her ex-boyfriend, right?
Yeah, the ex-boyfriend, and how he was a piece of shit and would just like pick on the brother and like,
and he does it
all these little things
in front of them.
A little bit.
Yeah. I was concerned for our main character here when she was friendly to this guy. But then when he walked away and she went, asshole, I'm like, oh, okay. She's just diffusing a situation.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine.
Yeah.
But that's good.
So, I mean,
all three of them are on the same side, and then you don't have to worry about that. It's like they proved her loyalty to her brother.
So the only thing that outright bothered me about this flick was there's a scene when they're preparing out at the scene in the desert where some not soldiers but representatives or whatever from the nearby Air Force Base, Edwards Air Force Base, show up. And the cameraman like films it a little bit and they tell him to put the camera down, and then they come back and they're basically like, oh, the guys from the Air Force Base told us that we have to, like, they're kicking us off our own land, and they're telling us that we have to leave because they're going to be doing some they didn't like get into details, but just like they're going to be running
military
exercises or something, drills and exercises, and they're like, well, they can't just make us leave and stuff. And I mean, they could.
They could. I mean, if they're going to do live munitions drills, then you do want to go. You do want to leave.
Right.
But
the
also
thing that
coinciding with what he believes to be the 30th anniversary return of the aliens, so it makes sense that the military would shut the area out.
Right. So, but what bothered me was they're like, well, we're going to stay. And if we're going to stay, we have to keep a low profile. And them keeping a low profile was just moving the cars behind the container and then lighting a big bonfire, turning on all of the lights, going out and shooting rabbits. Like they've made it bothered because they made a point to be like, we have to keep a low profile. And then they did everything but keep a low profile.
Yeah.
And it's never brought up again. Like there's not the Air Force Base doesn't show up again. We don't see any tests being run. We don't hear anything of anything from it. That bugged me a little bit because they took the time to bring it in and show you that maybe the government does know what's going on here. Maybe there is something behind all of this. But if that was their idea of trying to protect it, like they didn't do a very good job.
Yeah. But maybe they're thinking, if they get hurt, that's not our problem. We told them to get out.
Yeah. Well, we would love to know that.
Yeah.
So, what else, bud? I think you like this more than I did. I'm gathering.
Like is about the right word. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's not. It's no one's heard of this. It's not fantastic. It's good. I enjoyed it, but I don't think I could. I'm not. I don't know.
Oh, well, you're going to have to figure it out because I'm going to make you grade it in a sec. So.
Okay.
All right, Chris, do you recommend, and what is your grade for 2019 Daniel Myrick's Skyman?
Well, this is tricky because it is well done. The characters are very likable. The problems that they come across are believable with the military, with people in town and all that. And it's put together really, really well. The narrative is easy to follow, and I have to think there are some things that you try to explore in a documentary, and you would know this, and that they just don't pan out, and nothing happens with the avenue you were trying to get somebody to answer questions to or something, and so something could be brought up, but that's left in here. So it almost seems like they could have written it around not having answers to certain things. I don't know, like the brother thing and the ex-boyfriend with the sister, that's all fine. But there's the other stuff you brought up. It's like, yeah, that didn't have to be left hanging. But
right. Well, same thing with the part where like the sound man decides that it's too dangerous and the sound man leaves, but then the sound of the film doesn't change at all.
Well, maybe he was new.
But they're like, they're like, the sound engineer's leaving. What are we going to do? Though? Oh, we'll just use the audio from the cameras. But then like it doesn't, you know what I mean? Like they make a point to say that.
Yeah.
But then don't change anything. All they had to be was like, he left us with all his equipment, but he's out of here.
Yeah.
Little things like that bug me sometimes.
I'll recommend it, but it's not near the top of my list of what you should watch first. And I love the locations. I love the idea. I love the fact that you don't really see anything, but it's all more than heavily hinted at, which is good. So I'm gonna give it a B-. It was good. It was fine. It wasn't fantastic, and I didn't know about the Blair Witch stuff and connection until like 20 minutes into it when I started looking stuff up. And
meaning that he was one of the directors.
Yeah, when I saw that, yeah.
And
I'm like, okay, that's not the name I see always attached to, when they say from the creators of the Blair Witch, it's like it's never him.
It's always Sanchez.
Yeah, so that made me think. It made me think, okay, it's fine if this goes, in a different direction, and it's not, what do you call it? Not a horror movie, because
it's not the Alien Report or
because this guy doesn't necessarily need to make horror movies. Sanchez kind of does for now until he like makes a big high profile blockbuster kind of thing like Peter Jackson did. But yeah, he's just making stuff that I think he finds interesting, which I can't fault him for. So
all right.
B-, and if you like fake documentaries, definitely, but you could wait.
I'm gonna give it a very tepid recommend. I'm gonna give the recommend if like you want to see more stuff from the guys that the Blair Witch made that like maybe is something that you missed, because I had never even heard of this. So I came across, I don't even know, I think I came across it when I was doing research to grab stuff for the Blair Witch episode that we have coming out in a couple weeks. So I just came across it and was like, all right, cool. So I'm gonna give it a very tepid recommend. As far as mockumentaries go, it's as you said, it's not something like you have to see. I think it's a nice change of pace. Definitely from those other alien abduction ones. Didn't Sanchez do an alien abduction one?
I'll find out.
Wasn't he? I thought he was attached to one of those.
I know
one of those
Encounters guys did one.
Butcher Brothers, but I thought Eduardo Sanchez had something to do with one of the other ones.
I'll find out.
All right, cool. I'll continue talking. Yes. So I mean, I like the locale. I like the slow burn of it, actually. The couple little things like that are left kind of hanging it's frustrating, but at the same time, it's not enough to completely take it away. But I think it's just a little plain, if that makes sense. So I'm not going to grade it harshly. I'm going to give it a C-, C, borderline C- somewhere in there. Because I think it's definitely worth checking out, but it's not something you need to make sure you check out right away. If that, I mean, that's essentially the same thing you said. You just liked it more than I did.
Yeah. It was bright because it's all in the desert with the sun out for most of the time. It looked really nice. I don't see a under his directing. I don't see.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong.
But he did direct his Satanic Hispanics, which is kind of cool, and he had that one in VHS too. But there's two on here that I think we should do. Lovely Molly, which I watched a long time ago, and that was really good. And
I remember liking it. I don't remember
Exists,
anything else.
Which is a Bigfoot movie. We could
Didn't we do Exists?
I don't know.
I thought we did that one.
Well, you did do a movie called Seventh Moon, which could be sci-fi, and Para Abnormal, which is a video. But
I thought he might have been a producer on one of those other found footage alien.
oh shit! This is
flicks.
Melissa and her Chinese-American husband honeymoon in China during Hungry Ghost Festival. At night, at a village they discover the legend is real. Seventh Moon.
All right.
I'm gonna find that.
Okay.
I like that.
Well, while you look into that, we're going to move on to our second feature for tonight. Mike Basset, England manager. Here's a trailer.
This is the story of one very proud Englishman.
First met Mike back in 1975.
A loyal, steadfast family man.
Just wish my dad could see me now. You know, he was like a father figure to me.
About a year later, he got a free transfer to Plymouth, and to Hull, Grimsby, and Darlington.
What was it that attracted you to him?
The glamour.
An unlikely hero who hailed from football's lower leagues and in their desperate hour of need answered his nation's call.
A new manager to take us into the World Cup. So you know where we're going to have to start looking?
Scandinavia?
England.
To command
Christ.
centre stage in the greatest game the world has ever known. A man with one ambition.
To win the World Cup.
But first, he has to qualify.
We invented football and we gave it to the world. Well, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to bring it back. Put it away, son!
Mike Basset, the master tactician.
An old-fashioned manager, and the play is simple. 4-4-2. 3-5-1-1. 3-1-2-1-2-1 formation.
A man who's known football's highs and its lows.
Well done, Poland!
Terrible shape, terrible team.
Unsettled? What sort of bloody injury is that?
In order to be at one with the ball, you must ultimately become the ball.
But with a little help from elsewhere,
Luxembourg are winning.
You're joking!
he steers his team to the World Cup finals in Brazil. And to fly his nation's flag with pride.
England qualified.
Holding the team together with a combination of inspirational leadership and raw, bloody passion. But when it's time to be counted, when the chips are down, when the going gets tough,
this is the last roll of the dice for Mike Basset.
will Mike Basset deliver?
He's taking Argentina on his pass Bastardo.
Mike Basset, England manager.
It's just like I had never heard of this movie.
Me either.
I found it on a list of like mockumentaries, and I thought it thought it fit well because the Euro Cup just finished yesterday. England lost, by the way, 2-1 to Spain. Yeah, man, you're not much of a football fan, right?
Not really.
No, I somewhat am. I somewhat
don't
am.
mind it. I'd watch it if it was on and I didn't have the remote.
I watch a decent amount of EPL. I like Chelsea, and I'm unfortunately like because I'm such a big Oasis fan. I'm a big become a Man City fan too. And the thing I hate about that is because they're like super successful and have won like the EPL like 4 years in a row, and like, but like they also are like accused of like they have like a whole bunch of allegations of like underreporting what they're paying guys and like. So it's like, I mean, I'm a Patriots fan, so I mean, I should be used to the successful team that does some questionable things and gets away with it.
And
so
on the other side with the Yankees too.
I hate the Yankees.
Yeah,
I hate the Yankees. Anyway, so this story's real simple. We got Mike Basset, who is a rotund, lower level football coach. We open it seeing him take his team, the division, like the 3-division team, to the championship. And we learn that England's current club manager for the World Cup has had a severe heart attack and can no longer coach. and they need to find a new manager as soon as possible. And they somehow end up with Mike Basset. The idea is that they've asked everybody. There's nobody else left. And if you know anything about like football and the structure of like the club teams in the UK and over in Europe in general, like none of this makes any sense. Like,
no, it would never happen. The first guy they call would take the job.
Maybe not the first, but like you wouldn't get down to the coach that won the Division 3 Cup, right? So he's taking Team England into the World Cup qualifying round and trying to get a bid to the World Cup final. And this film is a finished documentary done by Martin Bashir, who is a real journalist. Everyone knows Martin Bashir from the Michael Jackson interview, but he's a very well-known, very respected.
Oh, I don't know him from that.
You don't? What do you know him from?
Watching British TV.
Oh, okay. Well, here in the U.S., everybody knows him as the guy that did the Michael Jackson interview.
Okay, I didn't watch that. So
you never watched that? I thought everyone watched that.
I didn't care.
Fair enough.
I didn't care. I like the music. I know what he's accused of. I was just like with this whole thing that happened 2 or 3 days ago that we're not going to talk about. I am not making any statements on it about my opinion until I find out what really fucking happened and the motive behind it.
Okay.
I have my theories, but they're just I get my tinfoil hat for it. So yeah, that's why I wasn't interested. I don't go in a lot for celebrity gossip. Like
no, the Michael Jackson interview was done before a lot of that stuff. It was the one where like he sat down with him and like he walked him around Neverland and Vegas and
we're
like
talking like what 30 years ago?
Yeah, well, yeah, we're talking way back.
I thought this was after all the accusations and everything. So yeah, I might have seen it.
I think there's some of the accusations, but it was like a real like it was the first time that he'd let anyone into Neverland.
Yeah, also
and they remember him going to that store in Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. And like the whole thing is like, oh, I'll take one of those, and I'll take one of those, and I'll take one of those, and he spends like $1 million in like 3 minutes.
Yeah. I really don't care what famous people do when they're not, quote unquote, being famous. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
and this was the one where like they introduced the world to Blanket, and he like. It's crazy. It was a very interesting watch, but totally off. Either way, so Martin Bashir is the guy that's like running this documentary. Mike Basset is the manager. He brings in a group around him, and we have a group of players that he brings in, and he brings in some guys that have been out of the game, and again, would not be believable if you know anything about England football. There's lots of very, very good players. You wouldn't be grabbing a guy out of the bar, or out of the pub to come and play because you need players.
Well, what it seemed to me is that this is the craziest, most abnormal situation, and we're just gonna run with it. This is more absurdist comedy than a
yes. I think we should mention that this is not played straight. It's played for laughs.
Yeah,
and some of them hit very well. There's some very funny things in this film. And some of them miss horribly. So, but the idea is he's got to whip this team, and it's a tried and true tale that you've seen a million times of the underdogs coming into this. You know, there's like there was a little bit in the trailer, but they're talking to Pele, and they're like, "Oh, do you think England has any chance?"
That's my favorite part.
And does England have any chance to win the World Cup? And he just starts laughing.
Yeah. He's like, he asks him at one point, "What teams do you think have a chance?" And he's like, "Brazil, Portugal, Spain, France, Germany, Ecuador." Like, he names all the countries. And then he's like, and Bashir asks him anything else. He's like, Japan. And he just keeps naming them. And it's this tease, and I like this. It's a tease through the whole movie about, does Pele even know that England has a team?
Right.
And that gets resolved.
Right. And it's funny because England's a world powerhouse now in football, but I don't really know where they were in 2001. So I don't know if this was more of just a straight like joke that they were doing even though the team was successful or not. So that's something I don't know. But either way, so you know, and the whole thing is the British media is just all over this guy Basset because he shouldn't be there. Like, and there's this great scene where they're getting on the bus and all the fans are like, and the English football fan, it's like, it's a stereotype because it's real. Whereas like you win one game and you're the toast of the town. Yeah. You lose the next game and they want you taken out to the square and shot and killed. Like,
oh yeah, but you see that like in every English or UK kind of comedy or drama or whatever.
Because it's a stereotype for a reason. Yeah. But there's this great scene where they're walking onto the bus after losing one of the games, and the whole team and all the guys are they're like, you should die, Basset. You should go home and kill you. Like screaming at him and he's like, hey, how about rather than screaming and yelling at me, you give me some constructive criticism? And they're like, all right, why don't you switch the lineup to 3-4-3? You have this guy do this, you have this guy, and they start like giving these specific game plans to him. And then the guy's like, huh? And then the other guy's like, yeah. And if you move this guy to this side, he's on his natural side, you bring this guy up, and you run at this, and he just looks at the two of them and he goes, you fuck off.
Yeah, there was more to that, I thought, though, but the end was great. They were giving him like legitimate, real reasons, like things he should do. And for a little bit, it looked like he's like, oh yeah, actually that does make sense.
Yeah.
So I was confused, or not confused, but I was wondering if he would do that later and see that it worked and then start to trust other people's opinion. But I didn't see any payoff for that scene.
I mean, it was just one funny scene. I don't think there needed to be a payoff for it, but it was just how they go from like being these rabid animals to like having these really good opinions and suggestions. But it's like,
that is the thing, right? They're watching the game and like it's like movie stars talking about the characters they play, and like, yeah, Bill Moseley may be whoever you recognize him as. For me personally, it's Army Guard in The Blob. I'm kidding. I forgot what I was going to say.
I don't know where you were going.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't expect him to be as hardcore into every movie he's been in or every character, you know? So, like, the owners are worried about this player has this going on. We got to run this play. We got to do that. But the guy sitting at home, just like everybody here, is like, oh yeah, well, you should have thrown it to that guy. You should have done this. This guy should be over here. Sometimes the ideas are good. I mean, look at Nick on Ted Lasso.
Yeah. So I mean, it's there's some funny stuff, but what this film tends to lack, and where it's the fact that it's a documentary about Mike Basset. It's not a documentary about the rest of the team.
Right.
And you don't really get much of the team or the other coaches other than kind of like the precursory, like, you know who they are, you kind of know what they do. Like you got the one assistant coach that basically just repeats everything that's said to him.
Oh my God. Yeah.
There's this great scene where Bashir's like, so team looks pretty good so far. You guys are working out all right. And he's like, team's great, working out good, doing really well. But you guys have been losing a lot of games. You've looked a little rough. Yeah, really rough. Lost a lot of games.
Yeah. He's fucking yes man from the Silverhawks.
It's so good. But yeah, where it fell short for me was kind of like, you get those sports redemption stories, you know, whether it's Necessary Roughness with Robert Loggia and Scott Bakula, or if it's Major League, or Bull Durham, any of them where like the team is like unsuccessful and they find a way to pull it together. Like this team manages to like sneak their way through. Like they sneak their way into the World Cup final on a tie, a 0-0 tie, and then Luxembourg just happens to like beat another team, so they get in without even winning a game.
Yeah. So this is a movie that's basically about failing upward.
Right.
Which is funny. It's a comedy of errors, and
it's done pretty well.
Yeah, British do comedy of error stuff really well. That's like what Faulty Towers is like built on. So
yeah, I mean among other things.
The first one I can think of.
But there's some funny stuff going on in it. Like I had more than a couple laughs. I loved the part where they had the players talking bad about him in the interview with like, but they were like had the voices disguised.
Yeah.
And they were like blacked out, but like you knew exactly who it was. And then the other guy walks in. He's like, "Hey guys, you got room for one more?" And he's like, Ricky Tomlinson, who plays Mike Basset, he's good in the role, and he's been in a million things. I was looking at his thing earlier. He was in Brothers Grimsley, Witchfinder. Lots of TV, lots of British TV. Let's see what else. There was one specific thing that, of course, now I won't be able to find it because
that's how it works.
Yeah, I think he does like a lot of like kind of like stand-up comedy and stuff too.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I can't find it now because that's usually how as you said, this is exactly how it goes. Anyway, but like I think he does a good job of being like the bumbling fool. The one disservice that his character has done though is like he never really seems like he knows what he's talking about. Right. It's not one of those things of like, if you just buy into what I'm selling here, we'll do fine.
He's constantly course correcting.
Right. And he ends up winning the last game with what he originally set out to do, which is, I guess, that moment of like he should have just believed in what he was going to do anyway. But and this is a spoiler, and I apologize to spoil. They win the game against Argentina, which is, first of all, like, you know, like Argentina is like the best in the world most years. They just won the last World Cup.
Weren't they?
Yeah, and that was the thing. And the joke is, and it's done very quickly, and you probably missed this because I almost missed it. They score the goal, and you see the replay, and the guy very much hits the ball in with a hand.
Yes.
Like, and they're like, that's a handball. And they're like, not against Argentina. It's not, because Brazil and Argentina are like the two biggest rivals, and the World Cup takes place in Brazil. So the joke is like, he hit it in with his hand, and they're like, well, that's a handball. And they're like, well, not against Argentina. It's not.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I figured there had to be a reason to let it go through, and it was, probably.
And it's just this quick line. It's not a throwaway line. It's actually an important line, but like, it's just really quick. And like, if you're not paying attention, you miss it. And then I said to myself, I'm wondering if Chris is going to catch on to that, because
I actually went back because I did see him hit the ball with his hand on the first replay. I'm like, what the fuck is happening here?
So they end up winning the game, and they win the game on a play that shouldn't have counted anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like this thing, but then they talk about how, like, you know, they made it to the semifinal, and like, I like that they didn't have them like win the whole thing, like run you through like to winning the whole thing.
Completely unbelievable if that happened.
Right. And then it's already unbelievable.
Yeah.
But like, I forget, was it Major League where like it ends with them winning the American League pennant, but like they go on to lose the World Series or whatever. And it's not about winning the whole thing. It was about winning that one. And that's what this is.
Yeah. A lot of movies do that kind of thing. It's like, well, we did what we said we were going to do, and we're not good enough to beat the other guys. So we set our sights and we're good.
Yeah. But it's funny, man. There's some like the little things, like they're going to practice after losing a game, and they're like, where's the balls? I thought you brought them. Oh, no. I thought you brought them. Oh, no. Otto bought them. Well, where's Otto? Well, he ain't here. They're in the back of his car.
Yeah.
All right, let's grade it.
Okay.
Mike Basset, England manager. Do you recommend, and what is your grade?
Yeah, I'll recommend this, but no going in. It feels a little rough. It is made to look like a documentary that was filmed for TV, so put on videotape, all of that stuff, and it's not great. It really isn't great looking. But there were a bunch of laughs, and I did like seeing people I know, and might surprise somebody, I don't know, but I really like seeing Gabby Logan show up. I think she's good. I've seen her on other shows, and she's really funny, and she knows her stuff too, which is the other thing. But yeah, since I watch a lot of British TV now, I actually recognized a bunch of people. I just don't watch football that much. So what was my point? Yeah, I'll recommend this, and B+.
B+, okay.
Yeah. I don't watch sports, but I have no problem with sports movies. So.
Yeah, and this is done pretty well. It's presented in that documentary format for like BBC TV or something like that, and it really works for what they're doing.
Yeah.
And Mar Bashir is obviously believable because it's what he does for a living. So,
right.
Having him there definitely gives this air of authenticity to the whole thing, which I thought was really good. So I'm going to recommend it also. I enjoyed it. Is it the best? No. But it's good. And it's funny most of the time when it's meaning to be funny. There's a few points where I'm kind of just like, oh, well, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Well,
but like overall, I thought it really worked.
Right, because it will get a little absurd here and there.
Yeah, but it's not so absurd. It's not like Austin Powers absurd.
No, it feels like they throw in an absurd or surreal moment, and then they go back to real life, or something bad happens, and then something weird happens. And it's just mood breakers to keep the overall mood of the thing light.
Yeah, for sure. So for a grade, I'm not going to give it as high as you did. I'll go B-.
Okay.
I enjoyed it. I didn't love it. It's good, not great. Speaking of good, not great, Joe.
Yeah.
Well, hello, Bill. Hello, Chris. And hello, OTC Nation. It's your boy Joe here, and this week Bill made me watch a movie with a title even longer than a Fall Out Boy song. Because he made me watch Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart at the River Styx. I say Bill made me watch, but listen. This shit is right up my alley. This is less Bill made me watch and more thank Kurosawa that Bill and the Patreon subscriber whose name I can't remember chose this series so I can finally check it off my list. One of my favorite things in these movies and movies like this is the blood spray. It began during the filming of Sanjuro in 1962 when filming a sword fight and the blood tubes gimmick malfunctioned. Yep. And if you've seen the scene that I'm talking about, you know as well as I do that the amount of blood that shoots out of the actor's like chestal area is A, pretty much all of the blood in the human body, like by volume, and B, it leaves his body at a rate just shy of a fire hose. It's hilarious if you focus on the actor's face because it was obviously not supposed to be like that. And to his credit, he works the what the fuck is happening of real life into the what the fuck is happening his character is experiencing, being the brand new recipient of a gaping sword wound. Apparently, Kurosawa just loved the way it looked on film, kept that shot, and for 60 years, if you didn't know that movies weren't real, like if you were in like a Galaxy Quest situation, you would think the Japanese people must have like preternaturally high blood pressure.
Yes.
One of my favorite examples is a movie I'm sure 99.9% of the OTC Nation is familiar with. It's Ricky O, The Story of Ricky.
Yep.
Again, what's with the needlessly wordy titles? But yeah, if you haven't seen that movie, do yourself a favor and get on that. It's fucking bonkers in probably the best way possible. From what I've read, the bulk of Shogun Assassin was taken from this movie, so I've probably seen most of it. Let's get into it. We fade up on Ogami and Daigoro entering a town, and I didn't mention this last week, but this kid is cute AF. I'm not even a kid person. Like, they're fine. I don't hate kids. They're just not my thing. But Akihiro Tomikawa, who was 4 when they shot this, is, like I said, is fucking adorable. Weird side note, the Lone Wolf and Cub films are the only acting that he ever did, and as an adult, he spent 3 years in prison for gun smuggling.
Good for him.
So I guess, child actors being fucked up adults is not just an American phenomenon. Anyway, Ogami is hired to kill a member of, it's like a business tribunal thing. Like, they make dye, and it's like this super special dye and formula and method and whatnot. And one of the council members is trying to undercut his partners, something. They don't want to pay fair wages or have good working conditions. But also the shogunate doesn't want to, is trying to take it and fucking... Jesus Christ. We found the one plot line more boring than politics.
Ooh. Well,
business.
not recently, but go ahead.
Like, at least they kept this thing moving. Speaking of, and I'm going to try to keep this brief, the shogunate are the ones after Ogami, so he takes the job with the bigwig dye makers, who are kind of the lesser of two evils, and mercifully we follow Ogami going to kill a man instead of these medieval business bros going on about synergy and bottom lines and integration. I'd rather watch On Golden Pond than that bullshit. As boring as that was, Ogami's path to his target is the exact opposite. The shogunate has not only ninjas, but the ninjas team up with a gang of lady assassins, and in the true Japanese style, everyone has a thing. There are no nondescript assassins here. In real life, you would want to be as blend-inable as possible.
Yeah.
Like, do the job and get out unnoticed. Not here, motherfuckers. We're going to make this like a kabuki show, written and directed by Mel Brooks if he did meth. Like, you have a gimmick, and you have a gimmick, and your gimmick is this thing, and we all have fucking gimmicks. I mock, but it's all very stylish and fun, and I'm actually having a good time. Personal favorite of mine is the main lady assassin, who, you know, when she gets into a fight with Ogami, she literally just jumps straight up in the air out of her kimono when Ogami strikes with his sword, and then she just jogs backwards into the distance. It was honestly on the verge of being a Monty Python sketch. Like, I fully expected Ogami to be like, okay, I thought we were fighting. You might want to look ahead of you. That's a severe tripping hazard. Big pop for showing that Ogami is not superhuman, too. After like 6, and I kid you not, 6 back-to-back fight scenes with no break, he is like me after a 3rd drink or a 2nd gummy. He is passed the fuck out hard. Boy, I forgot how much happens in this, considering I've already seen most of it. It does give some context, though, to things that were missing in Shogun Assassin. Like, Shogun Assassin, if you don't know that it's like an amalgamation of 3 movies, jumps the fuck around, and it's a little bit confusing. Like, who the fuck are these people, and why the fuck does everyone hate this, like, sad, chubby dad and his kids so much? The fuck did they do? But, then again, having had it all thoroughly explained in the full film, I'm still left a little bit confused, just like last week, with the sheer amount of characters and who they are and how they relate to all the other characters and what's going on. And so maybe 1 2.5 hour movie might be the right move. I'm going to cut this a hair short, just a hair, because my wife and I spent the weekend in Detroit for our anniversary and went to a concert and stayed up way too late. And I'm too old for this shit, Riggs. This movie still rules, though. Here's the thing, the good. Great action. And I mean fucking great action. It's exaggerated, but not quite so much as to be goofy. Even the slow, like, contemplative scenes, they mean something, and there's something happening. You can see a character going through stuff, and it doesn't slow it down too much. There's tons of really nice little touches and attention to details, even little things like sound cues that will add to a scene. Like, so far, these are all just really good movies. The bad. Well, this is personal, but apparently I can't stay up past 10 or 11 these days without paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
It was past midnight, and I feel like a wuss. An old wuss.
It's fair.
Baby Cart at the River Styx gets a nap plus. I mean a B plus. I'll be back next week with Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart to Hades, which was the cute term for hell that my uptight Christian neighbor used in the 80s during the Satanic Panic. She wouldn't let her kid hang out with me because I used to listen to Metallica. Guess which one of the two of us ended up as a well-adjusted adult with a nice life? Hint. Not him. I'll be back next week with that. Until then, be good, everybody. Fuck, I need to sleep.
Well, you won't be back next week, Joe. You'll be back in a month.
Well, to them, he will be.
No, he won't.
Oh, he doesn't have a segment next week?
He doesn't have a segment in the next 4 episodes.
Oh, that's right.
We already recorded them, Chris.
I forgot. I got Scott, and I don't know what I'm...
No, Scott sent segments in.
Yes.
Joe did not.
We're almost at the end of the show, so I have to stop remembering this stuff, and I think my brain just started forgetting early.
All right, well, we'll play Scott's shitty segment then. I don't know how you came across the show, but that's fucking awesome that you did, because as we've said many, many times, the Patreon, is what keeps us alive.
Yep.
Because independent podcasters can't break anywhere at this point.
All the quote unquote best ones have money behind them now, or famous people on them.
Wait a minute. I'm on this podcast and I'm... Oh, wait, you said famous, not infamous. Never mind.
What?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah. With Reverend Scott. There's a film called Las Vegas Frankenstein.
I would watch that.
It's on Tubi.
Hey there, Bill and Chris. This is Reverend Scott.
He looks like a fucking dickhead.
He did the best he could.
Not really. But I did get to watch a new horror movie called Maxine with 3 X's. I wonder what that means. And I have a few choice things to say about this sequel. But you haven't earned that yet.
So where do we go now?
How about the White House? I heard they could use someone under 80 years old to step in, and I'm just the man to do it.
I don't want him as president. I think he's absolutely ineffective on certain things.
Actually, most things. So how about instead we go straight to hell in the form of a couple movies you reviewed last week, starting with Without Warning. It's a TV movie with commercials. Again, a 1994 classic.
Wait a minute. That's not what I watched.
Tough shit, Chris. Wait, didn't you pick this one? Whatever. Tell me about it.
3 meteors that broke off from a larger one from our asteroid belt, and the weird thing that has people like the hair on the back of their neck sticking up is that all 3 of them hit on the 45th parallel in the U.S., in France, and in the Gobi Desert. Desert. There we go. And no one believes that that's coincidence, and we go from there.
Yeah, we go right back to Chris watching a TV movie that he thinks is real.
I didn't know what was going on. I was nervous in the beginning, and then I saw Q, and I'm like, oh, it's fake.
But this was 30 years ago. It might have been real. You never know. Actually, we do know. But anyway, these random meteors seemed not so random.
It was like if it was directed, it was as safe as you could possibly drop a stick of dynamite in the woods.
Some people survived and now are speaking in tongues, which I thought we all spoke with our tongues. But this is the 90s, so who knows? Maybe it's some alien shit.
We have, as humans, a specific way of communicating things we expect as communication and all kinds of stuff. Like, we have our baseline of what we do, but we don't know what any other life in the galaxy or the universe, for that matter, how they would have evolved.
I really don't care, but I do think this sounds kind of cool, and I want to check it out because I give it an A-, and the review gets an A because you didn't actually fucking spoil it this time. See, you're learning.
Okay.
So your next movie made you say,
oh my God, this looks terrible. I'm going to watch it right now.
And that masterpiece is
Creepypasta Death Net.
Which is the second in a series, apparently.
Except for that it really isn't. It's like the Zombie 2 of creepypasta movies.
Are you telling me that people make movies based on other movies they don't have the rights to? And they're not in Italy?
I mean, yes.
Wow.
And to make matters worse,
it is an anthology flick. Oh, God.
And to make matters worser,
you have like a VHS style thing where you're getting these weird tracking issues, and then you have the spinning loading thing in the middle of it.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I'm like, it's supposed to be a VHS, but you're showing me a digital lag.
Right.
Like, you can't even get that right.
No.
Well, at least they got the YouTube guy describing creepypastas right, didn't they?
This guy is dressed like a fucking asshole.
Yeah, that's the point, right, though?
To be honest, I'm really not sure what the point was. I mean, you said there was like 25 shorts in this thing, and you really only talked about one of them.
You mean the single dude that works out by himself in the dark and has a picture of a jacked clown on his wall?
Yeah, that guy.
Yep, that's the one. Sounds awful. I give it a B+. And the review was not very thorough, although the complete disdain for this film and your voices was very amusing. So I give that a B+ as well. And speaking of disdain, how much did I have for the new Ty West written and directed third film in a trilogy called Maxine with 3 X's? A trilogy that I've only seen part 1 of, X. You see, Maxine with 3 X's is directly connected to X with 1 X, but both take place after Pearl, which was before X, but was released after X, but before Maxine with 3 X's.
Yeah,
3
you
weeks.
told this story 3 weeks in the future, 2 days ago.
Maxine is now in Hollywood in this film, dancing at a strip club, I think, and auditioning for lots of movies. Or at least I think so. We've only seen her do one. Now she's calling herself Maxine Minx in an attempt to distance herself from her bloody past. Now you might expect me to say,
things have gotten worse since you've been away.
But no, not really. She's driving around in a convertible Mercedes SL. She also now has a shady agent, the Mandalorian and the Boys star, the Chicken Man himself, Giancarlo Esposito, aka Teddy Knight. And she just auditioned in front of the edgiest rising female star director of the time, Elizabeth Bender. She's that really tall, blonde model-looking woman from Tenet. She's making a horror sequel now, and she wants Maxine to be the star. But only after this female-powered director asks Maxine to show her her breasts first.
Well, no, it doesn't always need that. But you know what? Fuck you, it does need that.
But as we all know about Hollyweird, things are dark and terrible around every corner. And promising young actresses are starting to disappear, then showing back up dead with pentagrams burned into their bodies. Because if you didn't know, this takes place, I think, around 1985, the peak time for the Night Stalker, because he's still out there. Are these more of his victims? It sure looks like it, but the police are just not sure about it yet. But just to be safe, the news recommends you just don't go out at night.
I do not recommend it either. It's bad.
So now detectives are tailing Maxine and trying to get her to answer questions. Because why are all these victims seemingly friends with Maxine before they die? Ooh, who knows? They don't have anything concrete yet, but it sure looks bad.
Yeah, but we don't have any proof, but there's a lot of questions we need to be getting answers to here.
Yeah.
On top of that, a man shrouded in mystery has hired a sleazeball private dick in an ill-fitting suit played by Kevin Bacon looking like peak scumbag to come and confront Maxine with info about her murderous past. But why? And if she doesn't give in to the demands, will he go to the cops with this info and ruin her blossoming acting career?
All right, yes, please feel free to panic.
There's a lot going on in Maxine, but at the same time, it all feels cohesive, and it all progresses the story with a purpose. While X, on the other hand, seemed more like a Lemony Snicket series of unfortunate events. You know, wrong place, wrong time kind of movie. And Pearl sounds like a woman lashing out over regret.
Could have been.
Could have been, should have been, would have been.
Yeah.
Maxine feels more thought out, and it leads to a more exciting climax. Will Maxine dodge the cops and the shady PI? Will her past continue to haunt her? Who is the mystery man killing actresses and trying to track her down? Why does he want Maxine? Will Maxine finally attain her dreams? What kind of gas mileage does he get in that convertible SL Mercedes? Well, of course, I'm not going to tell you because I think it's worth seeing for yourself. Because if you liked X and Pearl, I think you may like this even better. Hell, if you didn't like X, beyond thinking Mia Goth was hot, you definitely will like Maxine. I recommend it, and I give it a B+. Borderline A-, as far as horror movies go. Well, that's all I got for this week, but make sure you tune in to Outside the Cinema next time when Bill finds out his dreams have come true.
Tattoo magazines with hot chicks.
Those exist.
Look forward to that and so many more things that exist. But until then, peace and love, guys. Outside the Cinema, where Bill and Chris sell their bodies to keep the podcast alive.
Like what you have to do to get like $50. I'm like, that doesn't even pay for 1 month of hosting.
Right.
Holy Shit with Reverend Scott. Thankfully, a segment with a short title.
Have you seen the titles on manga these days?
Nope.
Oh my God.
I don't watch manga anymore.
It's a book.
All right, guys. We will be back next week with another show, but just so you guys know, the shows for the next month have all been recorded already, so if you need to reach out to us for anything, feel free to do so. Hit us up on the Patreon at patreon.com/outsidethecinema, or shoot us an email at outsidethecinema@gmail.com. Might not get back to you right away, but we will. We will. Yeah, that's about it, right?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I think so.
All right, well, we'll talk to you next week, and then the week after, and the week after that, but we'll see you soon,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be online.
Yeah, well, hopefully not. All right, everyone, take care. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.